All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Raising Hell in Jersey podcast brought to you by Zoom. I'm your host, Jake Wakely. This is my co-host, Jersey Joe.
Hello, everybody.
And for tonight's episode, we're going to talk a little bit of Devils hockey again. We may talk a little bit about different teams tonight because it seems to be there's some stuff going on in the Western Conference. So somewhat of a Devils podcast tonight, mostly a Devils podcast, but we might touch on a couple other things around the NHL.
Especially the way things are shaking up in the NHL market, free agency, possible trade rumors that the Devils been mentioned in. Before we get off with the Doc stuff, I did see that with the fourth period by Dave Pagnotta that the Devils are interested in Mr. Weegar for defense.
Yes, Mackenzie Weegar of the Florida Panthers. I know our good buddy Alex of the Hockey Writers is a big fan of him. I haven't watched much Mackenzie Weegar highlights, so I don't know particularly sort of what the Devils are getting. I mean, I'm always more open to better skilled guys than that. I would prefer like an Eric Chernak or somebody like that. But, Fitzgerald's the GM, I'm not, so.
You never know because it's all about the cap, and teams got to make room before they flush other guys out and try and get their returns. So there's a doc in that prescription, I believe.
Yeah, there is.
Coming right up, and let's bring up the little bit of doc talk.
Yeah, so yesterday, for hockey fans, Devils fans, everybody knows, in my opinion, the greatest play-by-play guy when it comes to hockey. I don't even think it's close. I don't even think anything comes close to him. Maybe Gary Thorne, back in the day, but after that, I don't think anything comes close to what Mike Doc Emmerich brought to the game with all his famous, his words and
isms
that he'd come up with. He just had a different style, but he would call it. The thing that stands out for me, being a Devils fan all these years, was he called the game like it was, and he made it exciting every night for fans. His excitement in the broadcasting and play-by-play would bring you to the edge of your seat. Like every game he called, Darren Dreger of TSN said, he called it like it was always a game 7.
Yeah, you always wanted to have that feeling. And he was a great salesman at it. And my mom's an English teacher, and when I learned about these words, jostled, pitchfork, knifed, etc., my mom's like, where did you pick up those words? I said, Mike Doc Emmerich of the New Jersey Devils, play-by-play announcer. He goes, I really like that. And so I just couldn't help the obsession of Doc's thesaurus and live improvisation. And in high school, I went to Columbia High School in Maplewood, New Jersey, not too far by train to a Devils game. And to me, listening to Doc got me more interested in TV studio. And long before podcasting was a thing, I was really interested in what Doc was doing, and he was a big influence on me.
Yeah, I think for me as a fan, I was so disappointed when I read that he wasn't coming back. And I love Steve Cangelosi, and I appreciate the emphasis he brings, rang it off the pipe or Scar.
Yes.
So, Cangelosi brings a lot of emphasis, and he's come a long way. So he's done a good job. He talks about how Doc Emmerich was a big part in him, and Matt Laughlin. He always talks about Doc Emmerich because he worked for him for so many years. But what a lot of people don't know is from 1982 to 1986, Doc was the play-by-play guy for the Devils, and then he left, and he became the play-by-play guy for the Philadelphia Flyers and the Detroit Red Wings. And then I think it was 1993 or 1991. He came back and he was the Devils play-by-play guy from then on until, 2011. And, we were fortunate, even if we didn't watch some of the games growing up or we didn't live in the area and we didn't, the NHL center ice and all that stuff wasn't around to watch the games and all that kind of stuff. You knew who he was as soon as you heard his voice. Like, you're watching a game and he'll throw a line out at you. Like, meanwhile, back at the ranch, and you're just sitting there going,
back at the ranch.
Like, we're on a hockey game, and you're going, all right, well, whatever. Or, one of my favorite ones was always, waffle boarded aside or punched it aside, but rang it off the pipe. But the best one for him is when you always knew when a shot hit the post, because it would be like,
right off the pipe,
hit the post with the shot.
I tell you, he didn't have as much emphasis as Cangelosi does now, but he was the transition guy.
Yes.
Who really brought a new style of game calling for hockey. It's like I would listen to Sam Rosen watching Devils Ranger game. It's like, put on your earbuds, dude. It's like I can't stand listening to that announcer. Listen to Doc was like, listen to like that really good teacher that really excited you over like a sports game. And Doc, to me, having a guy like Dinah Zubras and John Madden on a line, you go the pass from Madden, cross ice, shot a log, score. Dinah Zubras with the backhand forehand goal, and the Devils are up 2-2 on the power play. Now it's 3-2. Something along the lines of that.
Yeah, so like we got lucky. I don't know how much you want to talk about Doc Emrick. Like,
you can go on and on. I love what he's done.
I think, and with him, when Kanji took over with Chico, it was, you could tell Chico was still kind of feeling a little, upset and whatnot, because he was working with Cangelosi. He was so used to working with Doc for so many years, and you could tell Devils fans were upset. But you knew when he went to NBC, every time a Devils game would be played on NBC, Devils fans are looking on social media going, okay, is Doc going to call the game? Like, is Doc calling the game? But we would never get him.
Yeah, except maybe one time.
Yeah, for a couple times there. And then once we made the Eastern Conference Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals, surprisingly, in 2012, you got to hear him again a lot, and it was nice. So, I mean, best announcer in my books. My buddy sent me a video the other day. Asked me if this was my favorite. Asked me if the famous Game 6 goal was my favorite Doc Emrick call. I want to say yes, but there's a couple other ones that are in there for me.
95, 2000.
Yeah, 90. There's a couple 95 ones in there that were pretty good. So, I mean, is there any ones besides Henrique's that stand out for you?
For me, one of my favorites was definitely.
Is that the Zubras breakaway against Pittsburgh?
That one was that's one of my personal favorites. I have family in Western Pennsylvania. I'm of Lithuanian great grandparents. For me, I've met Zubras on a personal level, right up on Lafayette Ave, right where the Devils come driving out, and I got his autograph on my old jerseys down in this region. It's in my closet. For me, every time I heard Zubras all log score, I just loved how that really rung. I remember he helped score a goal against the Flyers in 2012 in the playoffs. Ponikarovsky scoring that nice little like tape-to-tape pass along the blue line against the Flyers was another great one. the Clarkson goal in the elimination game against the Flyers. Those ones come right away off the top of my head. Zidlitsky and Ryan Carter in the playoffs. Those games were amazing as well.
Should we, before we get moving along, should we dive into a couple Doc Emmerich calls?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So.
Don't forget the Olympics.
Yes, he did call the Olympics too. So
Vancouver and Sochi stand out.
So we'll start with this one. This one for me is, I mean, I was only 2 years old when this call happened, so but it's one of my favorites. So I'm gonna turn this up a little bit so people can hear it. I gotta be careful because I'm in an apartment and I don't know how the sound's gonna be. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a go, and we're just gonna sit back and enjoy a couple of these. How's that sound?
Oh yes.
Okay, so here's my first one. This is a 1995 OT winner by Mr. Randy McKay. I'm sure a lot of Devils fans remember
Crash line.
So Randy McKay.
One goaltender is 23. That's the one. The other goaltender is 24. One came through juniors, the other through college. One coach has won a lot of championships as a player. Both he and the other coach are looking for their first as coaches in the NHL. The Devils have it, Caruso. On for Randy McKay and back in. Locker sets it up. Double team and score! The crash line, Michael Horton. Randy McKay in overtime. Seemingly harmless. Well, the crashers out there, you never know.
You know what you got to do is play the Breland one versus Dallas.
I don't know if so. I mean, that's one there for Doc Emmerich. For the Devils,
the championship to New Jersey. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
You want? Yeah, we can. Let's do that one.
Yeah,
I think that one seems necessary.
Oh yeah, very necessary.
And people have to remember, like, Devils fans lucked out with him for years.
Oh yeah,
he brought a different excitement for Devils fans every single year, in and out.
You know what he did was he prepared game day notes for every individual player with different markers for different records.
Okay. I'm going to set this up. Let's do this one. I got to make sure I got the right time of the call.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll do a couple more. And then we can move on to our next couple topics that we want to discuss for the fans.
And I believe for our listeners, we're all sitting at home, whether it's quarantine, shutdown, whatever it is that's going on. It's good to think about the past with a lot of the positivities that went on with Doc Emmerich. And I believe, there's going to be, new things coming on. And Steve Cangelosi is a really great play-by-play guy, but